lady. Good morning, my lady.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. You are back. Good morning.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ms. Van Wyk. Thank you.
Mr. Labuskaghni, so yesterday you testified that, in fact, before we go there, yesterday when we adjourned the proceedings, we were on the second last paragraph of page 2 on the statement of Mr. Albert Luthuli. And we were just about to go on to the last paragraph of that statement. Do you have it in front of you?
Yes, I do, and that's correct, my lady.
Albertus Luthuli. Page number 2.
So may I proceed to read the next paragraph into the record for your comment?
Yes, my lady.
My lady, should we follow the same pattern as we did with Mr. Dube yesterday, maybe sentence by sentence?
Well, if it's long, you can sort of like
You did sentence by sentence. I think it was a lot easier.
yes.
Okay, thank you, my lady. The paragraph reads as follows. It was a clear day and visibility was good, and I cannot state whether the injured Bantu had seen my train approaching, and if he had done so, why he made no attempt to get clear of the approaching train.
Sifunda njana ke statement masisiqhubeka ke naso sithi ke ngalosuku usuku olucacile futhi kubonakala kahle kakhulu angeke ngisho ukuthi ke lo wesilisa umuntu umdabunola izansi owalimala ngabe isitimela sam siqhamuka wasibona yini na uma ukuthi ke wasibona yinto abanga ukuthi ke angenzi imizamo yokuthi ke yena zama ukuthi ke azivikele kulesitimela siqhamuka na.
He did not even attempt to turn his body sideways as the train was passing him. Had he done so, the train would not have touched him.
Akazange azazame nje nokuthi yenze imizamo ukuthi ke umzimba wakhe awuphenduleke phela ube ngase siding ngoba ke ukuba benza njalo lesitima sezidlula ke kuyena.
I had been working this same North Coast line for the past 20 years as fireman and later as driver, and I know this section very well.
Futhi ke kuba benza njalo ke isitima lesasingeze simthinte nje nakancane. Mina ke beyade ngisebenza lapha ya ngasohlangothini lenyakatho North Coast line for iminyaka ewu20. Lapho ke ukusebenza kwami ngakade ngiyilomlisa lo ohlaka ezoka driver ngifake ke amalahle kuona ke ubhayela futhi le ndawo ke ngiyazi kahle kakhulu.
Almost every time that I have worked trains over this section, I have found Bantu walking over this bridge, as did this person, but on those occasions, these persons would step towards the side of the bridge and turn their body sideways, in which way they were then clear of the train which would be passing them.
Kusonke isikhathi engisebenzile ke futhi lapha ke ezitimeleni nalendawo futhi ke engisebenza kuyona ngathi ukuthi ke abantu abanyama babehambayo khapho kulelo bridge nake futhi ke lo muntu kodwa ke kuloko labantu ke uma ke qhamuka isitimela bayazi ukuthi ke fanele bancike khona ke nqemeni lalo ke ibridge ukuze isitimela ke singabathinti futhi ke indawo lapho ke iphephe ukuze isitimela ke sikwazi ukudlula singabathintanga.
When a train is passing over the bridge, as it was in this case, there is only a matter of about 2 feet clearance between the side of the train Unless the precautions are taken as already described, then a person can expect to be struck by a passing train.
Kanti futhi ke lestimela ke uma ke sidlula ke lapho ke ebridge uhleze kuyinto eyodwa lapho ke kumele ukuthi ke lapho kuze nawe ke uphephe le ibanga elikalwayo melikale lapho ke lama feet awu2 uqhqana kwayo ke kuyona ke le ndawo isitimela ke sathi naso ke masesidlula ke lapho ke bridge nawo phela fanele ethwase ke amalungiselelo ukuthi ke uzivele kuze lochazwe nje isitimela sike masidlula singathinti ke wena.
My reading of this paragraph, sir, and let me know if you agree with my interpretation. It suggests that this person who was walking along the bridge deliberately did not turn his body like everybody else would do under normal circumstances.
Ungqondise ke uma uthi ngiyaphuma ke esibukweni ngokwami ukuzwa noqonda angathi ke lo muntu akazangelohamba khona ebridge akazange aze enze njengomuntu ofanele ukuthi enze ukuthi azivikele ke uma ke kuqhamuka isitimela ebridge.
And is suggesting that this person may have wanted to commit suicide.
Futhi ke kukhomba ngathi ke vele lo muntu efuna ukuthi ke azibulale.
Do you agree with my interpretation?
Angabe ke ngendlela engiqonda ngayo mina uyavumelana noma ehambisana nayo?
That's exactly how it reads, my lady.
Yebo ke ngendlela ukufundeka ngakhona kunjengoba.
Is there any comment that you want to state with regards to this particular paragraph?
Nabahlambe khona enofuna ukuphawula mangalo sicaphe sikufundile kule statement.
Well, my lady, I do not believe that in this particular case, Chief Albert Luthuli would have walked straight towards the train.
Nkose ngatalo ke angikholelo ukuthi ke kule class kuma ngalo njengamanje. Inkosi Chief Albert Luthuli wangafuna ukuthi ke hamba aqondele ngqo mabheka ngqo nesitimela.
Because the driver here clearly states that he's been working this line for 20 years.
Ngoba ke masikhube sifunda lana lo mshayeli wesitimela uyakusho bede ukuthi ke uneke ewu20 esebenza kanje ngetimela.
He's seen many pedestrians cross the bridge.
Uthi futhi ke sebenza sakhe ke useke wabona abantu abaningi benqamoni mabewela ebridge.
Everybody in the community surrounding there would know the danger of that bridge.
Futhi wonke umuntu nje okhona lapha endaweni nomphakathi bayazi ubungozi bakunqoma lapha ebridge.
And the danger of the bridge is the gap between the train and the edge of the bridge, the side balustrade.
Kanti futhi umngozi lapho ke uphathi kwaso isitimela nonqenqema lalo ke ibridge.
So I do not believe in any way whatsoever that Chief Albert Luthuli would have continued walking into an oncoming train.
Angikholelwa tuke mina ke kuthi ke uChief Albert Luthuli wezovena ahambe abhekane ke nesitimela esizayo sizangakuyena,
knowing the very narrow gap between the train and the side of the bridge.
Azikahle futhi le gap elikhona phakathi kwalo kwaso ke isitimela iguzu kanti futhi ke nalo ibridge uyawazi ebumncane balo ndawo.
Thank you, sir. Can we proceed to the next paragraph?
Yes, my lady.
Thank you. Paragraph on page 3 of the statement reads as follows. Later that same day, in brackets 21/7/1967, I heard over the wireless that Chief Luthuli had died in the Stanger Hospital during the earlier part of that day.
Ngokuhamba kwasengalo suku mhla 21 nyangeni ke 7 1967 inqoso lapho ngase ngezwa ke eradweni ukuthi ke umnumzana Chief Luthuli usedlulile ke esibhedlela eStanger ngalo ke lolo suku.
And the next paragraph reads as follows. On the 24th of July 1967, I accompanied Detective Sergeant Lewis of the SA Railways Police, Durban, to Stanger, and there at the Stanger Provincial Hospital mortuary, I was shown the dead body of a Bantu male adult, which I identified in the presence of Dr. G.M. Gregerson, the hospital superintendent, and Detective Sergeant Lewis, as being that of the same person who was struck by the locomotive of train number 332 on the Umvoti River Bridge on the morning of the 21st July 1967, and who was identified to me at the scene of accident by Station Master of Gledau as being Chief Albert Luthuli.
Ngomhla 24 ku July 1967 ngase ngepheza Detective Sergeant Lewis usemasonga phasapho ke kuloliwe eThekwini kuyo ke Stanger lapho ke eStanger siyakhona ke esibhedlela sikahulumeni emakhazeni ke akhona ngase yakholiswa ke isidumbu somuntu wesilisa wasekhulile ke ngase ke identify present ngase ke ngiyamkhomba noma ngimazi ke phambi kwakhe ke uDokotela uGM Gregerson khona ke esibhedlela uSuperintendent kanye noDetective Sergeant Lewis njengomuntu ke njengomuntu owekade eshawe ke iwona kamasonto ke asoke isitimela esiunombolo 332 lapho kumvoti ebridge umvoti umvula ebridge lakhona ekseni ngomhla ka21 kuJuly 1967 kanti futhi ke ekhonjwa kimi khona lapho ke esigamekweni umastesh wakhona ke lapho eGlendo wathi ke unguChief Albert Luthuli.
So I just wanted to ascertain from you, under normal circumstances, if there was an accident or train accident, let's say on the day of the 21st, it was seen as an accident, a minor accident.
Akasithi ke ngenjalo ke na umthatho ku July 1967 nanso ke ingozi kubuka nje ingozi ke yesitimela encane.
And I'm using the word minor loosely because there wasn't a fatality.
Ngikisebenzisa igama lengozi encane ngoba kukho kutheni okwenzeka noma ke ukudlohlabeni okwenzeka umuntu lapho.
But later on there is a fatality as a result of the accident.
Kodwa ukuhamba ke kwesikhathi ngokuhamba kosuku kudluleke umuntu ngesimo ke sayo ke lengozi.
Would the driver, like in this instance, the train driver, be called to come and identify that body?
Esigame esifake naso ke lesi umqhubi nomshayeli ke wasoke isitimela angabizwa yinaye ukuthi ke azokhomba isidumbu.
Well, lady, that's exactly my question, is why was the driver called to identify the body?
Nami ke nkosenkantolo unombuzo ke sibuzayo ukuthi ke usabizelwani umshayeli wesitimela ukuthi azokhomba isidumbu.
So the question that you're posing, I'm taking it that wouldn't happen under normal circumstances, that the driver be called to come and identify the body.
Ngithatha ukuthi ke lo mbuzo osibuza wona nawe ukhomba ukuthi ngokujwayelekile ngeke azabizwe umshayeli wesitimela ukuthi ke azokhomba isidumbu.
No, my lady, the driver would never be called to identify the body, and the driver didn't know who the victim was until the station master told him.
Umdriver wesitimela ngeke azazabizwe ukuthi ke azokhomba isidumbu engasazi. Nakhona futhi ukuthi azasazi ngoba kwasekusho uma stage semtshela ukuthi ubani.
Do you perhaps have any further comments with regards to that paragraph?
Ngabe mhlawumbe khona okunye ufuna ukuphawula ngalo sikufundile esicaphunile?
No, my lady.
Thank you. Next paragraph reads as follows. On this same day, 24 July 1967, I also accompanied Detective Sergeant Lewis of SA Railways Police to the scene of this accident bridge, and they pointed out to him the place where I located the deceased lying on this bridge after I had stopped my train and ran back to the place where I had seen him the last time after he was struck by the locomotive.
Word of a mysterious new favor.
Solve the mystery and win.
Only Gaviscon forms the Gavisstop barrier to stop heartburn fast and stop it coming back.
I had seen him the last time after. I had seen him the last time after he had struck. Lange mona khona ugcina ke eshawa ke amasondo esitimela.
I also pointed out to him the approximate point where the front end of my locomotive was at, the time that the deceased entered onto the bridge, and I saw him for the first time. Detective Sergeant Lewis obtained measurements and photos.
Ngase ngamgomesa ke futhi ke ngomisa na Detective Sergeant Lewis la ke la ngizohlomesela khona ipoint la lapha ngaphambili kwazitimela sam namasondo esitimela sam la ke umufi angena khona lapha ke ebridge ngambona futhi ke ukuqala nga uDetective Sergeant Lewis waseke esekala ke khona lapha emkhomisa khona waseshutha futhi ke nezithombe.
Do you have any comment with regards to this paragraph?
Khona ufuna ukuphawula ke leso sicaphunile khona manje.
Yes, my lady. Firstly, it seems extremely unusual that this detective would only go to the scene of the accident 3 days later.
Ngoqala nje akubukeke kahle ukuthi ke lo phoyisa uLewis usengaya esigamekweni emva kwenzuku ezintathu.
When this type of accident takes place, the local authorities and railway authorities are summoned to the point.
Uyabona ke uma kwenzeka into enje abakhona beke bakhona ke station abasobe khona police station bathi sophela baniswe lapho la kwenze khona ke isigameko.
And at that time, all the necessary measurements are taken and photographs are taken.
Ngaso sikhathi ke sebekhona bonke lapho sebebiziwe bafanele ukuthi ke babizwe nekhulu zakhona kuze sekuthuthwa lapho kuthathwa ke izithombe.
He also says that he pointed out to the detective the approximate point where the front of his locomotive was standing.
Uyasho futhi nokuthi ke wasekhombisa ke iphoyisa la ngenza ukuthi la istimela sakhe namasondo stimela sakhe ayekhona ehlambisela.
3 days later, my lady, the scene would have definitely changed in a number of ways.
Yabona sekudlule insuku ezintathu ke manje okukhomba ngona phela ukuthi ke indawo esigameko isingashintsha phela ngezathu esihlukene.
I say this in the sense that there could not have been 100% accurate measurements and photographs taken.
Ngikusho lo ngithi ke kwangeke kube ke 100% wendawo la sekhona ke isithombe la kuthiwa khona isigameko senzeka khona.
And especially because the train was not there anymore.
Lo suka khula ke phela isitimela singase phela lapho.
Absolutely, my lady. And that is
kunjanga ingakho ke ebekisela noma ehlambisela.
Is that all that you wish to say with respect to that paragraph?
Thank you, my lady. You
Thank
can
you,
move
sir.
on.
Yebo saqhubeka ke kona ke emfisa ukusho ke kulosi sikufundile.
Next paragraph. On the right-hand side of this bridge, on the southern side, and just alongside the end of the bridge, there is a footpath leading down an embankment towards the western direction, and this footpath then follows a route just inside the railway fence on that side of the railway line in a southerly direction.
Kanike masiqhubeka esifundayo on the right hand side. Masibuka ngapha ke esansa mesokudla khona ke lapha ke ebridge ngase side ke lase ningizimu. Lapho nje nqemeni lasigcineni kwalo ke bridge the direction. Kunendlela ke futhi lapho ke esingese ehamba lapho eholekutheni ke izifike khona lapha ke ezansi ngakhona ke engxenyeni yase ntshonalanga. and its footpath follows through just inside the railway fence. Kanti futhi ke lendlela ke ekuhanjwa ngayo ke ngezinyawo ingena khona ke lapha ya ocingweni nomnqimeni layo ke kaloliwe and the railway line ngale ngxenye ke engapha ke ngaseningizimu.
I am of the opinion that this deceased had approached this bridge from the direction of this footpath. When he emerged onto the level of the bridge was the first time I saw him.
Mina ke nginovulo ukuthi ke shuthi ke umufi lo weqhamuka ngaleli side la khona ke ebridge eza ke ngakuyona ke lendlela ke ehanja kuyona ke ngezinyawo uthe mase ke eqhamuka lapho ke kule level e bridge la semakhona mina ke okuqala.
I did not see him before this, and even had I then applied the brakes of my train, I would not have been able to stop my train in time before it reached him.
Angizange ngize ngimbone kahle ke konke lokho noma ke kuthiwa ngangizoke ngizama ke ukubhleka isitimela sami ke sasingesikwazi ukuthi ke sime engingakafiki ke la aye khona yena.
Do you wish to comment, sir?
Yes, my lady. The driver clearly states here that the first time he saw Chief Luthuli was when he entered the bridge.
Chief Albert Luthuli
But in the third paragraph of his statement, he says that he had, when his train was about 60 yards from the end of the bridge, he said that Chief Albert Luthuli had already walked a distance of 15 to 16 paces.
15? Chief Albert Luthuli wayesehambe nokho ama pace amagxasi 15 kuya ku 16.
It was only after that he blew the whistle.
Kwayimava lokho kuyima ke eshaya impempeke yayo ke isitimela sakhe.
The rest of the statement where Chief Albert Luthuli had come from doesn't really make anything in this statement
Chief Albert Luthuli waqhamuka ngakuphi kwenziso nje la statement sakhe
relevant, because he says that he saw him only the first time he saw him was when he entered the bridge.
Uswethamngaphi akulozo phela manje na uthi uqala kwakhe kumbona lesikhathi esongena ebridge usuqhamukaphi angathi lokho akwenza imqondo la.
And based on your earlier evidence, sir, if the train driver had applied the rules by, first of all, before entering the bridge, slow down, before even entering the bridge.
Aspect ngakho ke ukubelandela ke imithetho nemgomo ukuthi ke ehliseke izivini ahamba ngazo engakafiki ke ebridgeini.
Slow down even further as he entered the bridge.
Aphinde futhi ehlise isivini sakhe esengenela kulona ibridge.
If in somebody on that railway track,
sorry,
if indeed there was somebody on that railway track, there is a high probability that by the time his train stopped, he would have averted the collision with that individual.
Futhi ke kunohlambisa ukuthi ngempela kungenzeka ukuthi Ehlisile isivinini sakhe leyo ngozi ke engeke yenzeke.
Is that my understanding?
Ngendlela engiqonda ngayo.
Yes, my lady. And also, had the driver blown his whistle before entering the bridge,
Yebo kunjalo ngosenkantolo. Futhi kakhulukazi ukube udriver ngempela isixwayiso sakhe wasishaya engakangeneli ebridging.
in this particular case, Chief Albert Luthuli or any other pedestrian would have known there's a train coming.
Ngoba ke mawuse wakwenza lokho washaya impempe yakhe eshawayo kuzwakala. Chief Albert Luthuli noma omunye nje umuntu ekhona lapha wayizonga ukuthi ke nasi isitimela.
The reason why I say that, my lady, is that when you enter a bridge, it's a river, so it is open.
Yabona into ebanga ukuthi ngisho kanjani ngoba ke ungena ebridge kunomfula kuvulekile lapho.
And the sound of that whistle is uninhibited by any buildings or trees that could half muffle the sound or bounce the sound off.
Futhi ke uma seshawa ke lempempe akho zakhiwe lapho ezinde noma ezinkulu akho zihlahla lapho ezingahola ekutheni ke uvimbe ukuthi ke kuzwakala umsindo walempempe esukishawa.
And a steam locomotive's whistle is extremely loud.
Kanti futhi ke impempe yalesi yaleguzo asive ke lempempe ishayela phezulu.
It's very interesting that you raised that, sir. Because in the transcripts of the inquest proceedings that was held in 1967, when one reads it, the suggestion that is put forward is that perhaps the reason why Chief Luthuli did not hear the whistle blow is because there was a strong wind that was blowing from a westerly, I think it was a westerly direction. That was the argument.
Yabona ke into ebangithi ke ngisho nje ukuthi ke sisande ke ukumangala kuhlaba umqheleke lokuvezayo ngoba emaphepheni lawa ke enziwa isikhathi ke kusaqalwa ukuthi kutholakala ukuthi uNozane uLuthuli udlule kanjani ke emhlabeni ngo1967 kukhona la kuthiwa khona into yabanga ukuthi uNozane uLuthuli angasizwa isitimela ukuthi nake beshaya isitimela ingoba kwathiwa emaphepheni kwakunalo moya lo owawushaya waphuma ngapha ngasadini ke lasentshonalanga.
My lady, I do not agree with that statement at all. The reason why I say that is because there is steam locomotives that operate on the coast in Mossel Bay.
Into ebanga ukuthi ngisho kanjani ngoba ke kukhona ke isitimela sinjalo esihamba lapha eMossel Bay
and in Cape Town.
Nakhona futhi ke eKapa.
And when the wind blows, an onshore wind, albeit strong, you can still hear the whistle.
Thank you, sir. Your indulgence, my lady. Thank you, my lady. I'm informed by my colleague that the last exhibit we had was Exhibit U. I'm requesting, my lady, that the statements which this witness has commented on, that being of Stephanus Albertus Latteghan, Van Wyk and Greiling, be marked as Exhibit V, my lady.
Yes, it will be Exhibit V.
Thank you, my lady.
You see, Ms. Chene, why the primary school teachers would give you a hiding if you miss the letters of the alphabet.
I see that.
So Mr. Ngobo has become the teacher.
Yes. He's doing a great job at that.
Thank you, Mr. Ngobo, for the refresher course.
Thank you, my lady.
That will be Exhibit V.
As the court pleases.
Just before we leave Exhibit V, Mr. Labuskachni,
Yes, my lady.
we've had opportunity, and this court take judicial notice of some of the sounds of a truck going down Town Hill and the whistle of a motor vehicle. The motor vehicle's whistle is pop up, and that's once. And now you say the locomotive is very, very loud. Is it very, very loud, and is it more prolonged than the whistle of an ordinary motor vehicle?
Yes, my lady.
Yeah, bona ke sesizule futhi ke la ngathi ke emgaqweni. Ake simoto nje nangi iyehla ngomgaqo lapha ko Hilton. Mayibutha ukuthi baby angabe ke efazini bakho ke ukhulume ngokuthi ke isitimela siba nomsindo omkhulu uma ke sekushawa ke impempe khona. Angabe yona le mpempe yona ke isha kakhulu ukuzokala kwayo nomsindo wayo umkhulu kakhulu. Impela yami ithi lapho ke yebo kunjalo.
In the case of a motor vehicle or a bus or a truck, normally the whistle will sound once or twice, but while the motor vehicle is in motion, or the motor vehicle may stop and sound again. What happens in the case of a locomotive is the whistle blown continuously, and the locomotive continues with its journey at the same speed, or what exactly happens?
Masibheka ke into ibhasi noma itruck makushayela lapho ke ihot yenza useshawa nje kanye noma kabili imehla imoto noma ke iqhubeke ihamba. Uma ke sesikhuluma manje ke ngesitimela kwenzeka kanjani? Angabe ke iyashaya iqhubeke nesivinini indlela ehamba ngayo, noma iyashaya ke impempe yakhona yehlisa isivinini ime kwenzeka kanjani ngeze uma sesikhuluma isitimela?
My lady, a steam locomotive has a boiler in front, and the boiler's operating pressure is 1,380 kilopascals.
1,000?
380 kPa.
Yabona ke masikhuluma ke ngestimela. Kula le ndawo le ekhona lapha estimeleni la kubila khona ke amanzi. Lokubila khona ke ku 1,003 kPa.
And the route of steam from the boiler to the whistle goes via a boiler mount on top of the boiler called a turret.
Okay, hold on. Boiler mount. Okay. Mase chaza ke le boiler. Nato ke le boiler ke la isuke ke lapho ke lomseni isingeke la kukushawa khona ke noma la khala khona ke impempe le nakhona ke leyo boiler ingena kwi turret.
Turret.
In layman's term, can the turret be explained, my lady?
It is a brass box.
Okay, thank you.
With valves.
Le turret akhuluma ngayo ke kuyibhokisi enama valve akhona ke yebraso.
So the path of that boiler pressure steam is a direct path to the whistle, and that's what makes the whistle so loud.
Ukuthi ke mase kusuka ke lokho ke lapho sekuyongena manje ke la kushaya khona ke le mpempe isingena ngqo ke khona okubanga ukuthi ke umsindo wakhona ke usuku lesi steam ube mkhulu kakhulu mase shawa ke le mpempe.
It is designed like that in order to give the maximum sound.
Futhi ke yakhiwe kanjalo ngamaboko ukuze kuzwakale lo msindo ongazwakala.
To warn pedestrians or to chase animals away from the railway line.
Kwenzela ukuthi phela ke kuxwayiswe abahamba ngezinyawo kanti futhi nakhona kususwe ke noma ke kuzama ukuthi kuthuswe izilwane eziba khona sijothi ke zigijima nazo lapha ya kona ke ujantshi wesitimela.
The length of time that the driver should blow the whistle is no less than 3 seconds. So all drivers know that they blow the whistle for quite an extended period of time, longer than 3 seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds, when approaching a bridge or a tunnel or a level crossing.
Driver bayazi ukuthi ke le mpempe fanele bayishaya isikhathi esijana esingaphezu kwamasekondi amathathu mhlambe kube amasekondi awu5 kuya ku6 kuze phela izozwakala kahle lento noma ke kuthiwa ke kulapha ebridge ukuze ke kuxwayiswe abantu kodwa bayasazi isikhathi fanele bashaya ngaso ke le mpempe.
That time, my lady, varies between different drivers, but even a 3-second blow of a steam locomotive's whistle is very loud, and it's long enough for anybody to hear that's walking on a bridge.
Kanti futhi ke kuyahlola phela ngodriver kodwa bayazi ukuthi ke u3 second ubona impela ke omude ukuthi exwayiswe abantu besuke bekhona lapho ke ebridge
or next to a railway line or even near a rail crossing. Road crossing.
Noma duzane ke nawo ke ujantshi noma la ku abantu ke benqamula khona.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Chen. Thank you, Mr. Lapusika.
Thank you, my lady.
So, I hear we're talking about a whistle, but the way in which you're describing it, to my mind, it comes across more like a horn. If somebody were to blow, if we were to describe it, like when you're in a stadium, in 2010, the vuvuzela was very popular. That was our South African horn. So the way you're describing the sound doesn't sound like a normal whistle, but sounds more like a horn. Am I correct?
No, my lady.
No.
No.
Ngabe ke ngiqinisile uma ngithi ngendlela ochaza ngayo lempempe ziba khona phela izimpempe ezincane ngikhumbula ukuthi isikhathi kusadlala ke ibhola kakhulu sasinalento ekuthiwa ivuvuzela kwakuphondo lethu lana ke eMzansi inomsindo ke leyo nto mangase ke unginaba ngabe ngiqinisile uma ngithi ke nayo lento echazayo ithi benjani.
A steam locomotive's whistle's pitch is a lot higher than a vuvuzela.
Yabona ke umsindo wempempe wesitimela lesike esiphuma ke umoya. Yona ke leyo mpempe ikhala yaphezulu kakhulu unayo ivuvuzela.
What the decibel of a steam locomotive whistle is.
Kodwa ke anginaso isiqiniseko sokuthi ke isikalo saso ukukhala singakanani.
But it is a lot higher pitched to give maximum sound warning to whatever danger is next to the railway line or departures.
Kodwa ngikwazi ukuthi ke umsindo ke waleyo mpempe yesitimela uqongola phezulu kakhulu ukuze phela xwayise kwasani ongase kube ingozi noma kube nobungozi phambi kwasitimela.
So one thing is definite. It's definitely louder than a normal whistle that a referee would use on a soccer pitch, and it's definitely louder than a vuvuzela. That's for sure.
Kodwa mamazi uthi ke leyo mpempe ke sitimela noma kanjani ikhala ngaphezulu kwempempe esizuliswa ke onompempe egroundini uma kudlala ibhola iChiefs nePirates ishake iChiefs ikhala kakhulu yona angabe kusho kanjani.
Objection, my lady.
What a light to note, my lady.
Did you get that, sir?
Yes, I did, my lady.
So that's for sure.
A steam locomotive's whistle is extremely higher than any Pirates Chiefs game.
Impempe ke yasokusitimele iphezulu kakhulu idlula nje impempe la kudla khona iPirates neChiefs.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that clarity. In your testimony yesterday, sir, you did testify that on numerous occasions you had consultations with Warrant Officer Burgess from Crime Scene Management relating to this case. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Yebo konsileke ukuthi fazi bami zonke ngasho ngathi ke ukhona isikhathi izimbaleke ngabona khona ke saxoxisana naye ke Warrant Officer Burgess.
You also had several consultations with Warrant Officer Sunet Nel. Am I correct?
That's correct, my
Kunjalo
lady.
futhi ke naye Warrant Officer Sunet Nel sike sabona futhi akhumisana naye.
Warrant Officer Burgess has consulted with you in respect of the specifications of the Class 15CA locomotive. He testified before this court and stated that because the 1967 inquest documents reflect that the train was 60 axles in length, the number of cars making up the train would have been about 15 cars. Do you agree with that?
Yes, my lady.
Yebo kunjalo ngiyavumelana ke nofazi uthulena uProfessor Betela unazana ke uBreakers la ikhoma khona ke ngestimela nenambolo ke yake istimela 15CA bakhuluma futhi ke nama SLs awu 60 nezimoto ke futhi lazikhona lapha zo 15 kunjalo ngiyavumela ke masho kanjalo.
He also stated that this 15 cars would have consisted of the guard van as well as 14 freight cars, making a total of 15. Would you agree with that?
That's correct, my lady.
Kunjalo wathi izimoto ezo 15 zesiphelele ukhomba ke eyodwa lemoto ke ile igakha yakhona base kuba ke ile ezithwele ke manje impahla ezo imoto ezo 14. Yebo ke kunjalo.
Judging by the comments that you have been giving with regards to the statements that we had read earlier of Mr. Latachan, Mr. Greiling and Mr. Van Veek, you came across to me as somebody who's quite versed in this matter as to what happened. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Kunjalo yomusi ke ngetlamende ke sesibone sesifundiwe zanozana Van Veek nozana Latachan nomzana uLebeshane. Angathi ngempela ke wena unova kakhulu kulokhu yebo ke kunjalo.
In those statements, it was mentioned that that train in particular was a goods train.
Kwesamende kukhulunywe kunoma kushiwo kuletha kumele lezo khuluma ngazo ukuthi ke leyo stimela kakuyiguzo.
That's correct, my lady.
Yebo kunjalo.
And it carried syrup and sugar.
Yes, my lady.
Kunjalo ke le guzu yethwele ke ushukela nesirap.
Do you confirm that the sugar would have been loaded in the wagons, which had more of a rectangular shape, and the syrup would have been loaded in the tankers, which had more of a cylindrical shape?
Quite correct, my lady.
Kunjalo ke futhi ke isirap le efake ke emathangeni. Mase kuthi ke ushukela ke entweni eyonqantathu kunikarish.
Do you also confirm that the rectangular shaped wagons were called FZLS and that each FZL measured 17 meters in length from buffer to buffer?
That's correct, my lady.
Kunjalo futhi ke labo nqantasu babizwa ngo FZLS be 17 meter ikash nekarishi kulama buffer makule buffer.
Do you further confirm that each tanker is 15.8 meters in length from buffer to buffer?
That's correct, my lady.
Mase uthi ke la mathanga na awu 15.8 ithanga linye ngalinye.
My assistant and my teacher is referring me to the screen. I think you've got one in front of you.
Yes, my lady.
That is how the locomotive would have looked like. Do you confirm? The rectangular cars.
Sorry, can you move it up a bit so that it's not obstructed by the camera stand?
So for purposes of those who don't know, the rectangular cars, those would have been the wagons. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady. Yes.
Kunjalo ke lo thanda ukuba bhujana ke lapho ikona ke lokho esikhuluma ngawo kwama thanga ama wagons imoto lezo.
And the ones with a cylindrical shape, those would have been the tankers.
That's correct, my lady.
Mase lo thanda ukuba round kancane amathanga ke la.
And the little car at the back of the tanker, that would have been the guard van.
That's correct, my lady.
Akusi leyo ngemuva ke le van ethiwa ke yona egadile.
The one in front of the wagons, that would have been the locomotive.
Yes, my lady.
Kunjalo ke lo ngaphambili stimela.
So that's just a rough sketch of how the train would have looked like.
Yes, my lady. I'm not sure of the relevance thereof, but the locomotive has a tender behind it.
What is a tender, sir?
The tender is the box, the car, the wagon that carries the coal and the water for the locomotive. So the tender and the locomotive is one unit.
I see.
The tender doesn't get counted as part of the train.
I see.
Kanti angazi kubaleka kwalo sibuya ke kodwa ke kahle kahle ke isimo sibana nento ethiwa i-tender masuba khona ke lo tender lokho ke ibhokisi mase kuba khona ke i-garage masuba khona lo ukuqala amalahle.
Ms. Chene,
My lady?
in order to keep track of the time, can we have a break
Yes.
and resume at 11:30?
We can do so, my lady.
Thank you.
As a corporate.
Mr. Labuskachne, we'll take a short adjournment, tea break. We'll resume at 11:30.
Thank you, my lady.
Thank you.
Sorry for the just was 11:30.
That's it. Abuskachni, you're still. Yes, Ms. Chairman.
Thank you, my lady. Just before the tea break, sir, you had confirmed that the length of each tanker from buffer to buffer would have been 15.8 meters.
That's correct, my lady.
Kunjalo ke ngeke ngaqinisa ke isikakasukumi ke esiya ke etieni kuthi ke ubude ke ba lamathange 15.8 meters.
Do you also confirm that the guard van, because it was generally shorter than the FZLS wagons, could measure approximately 30?
Correct, my lady.
Kunjalo ke ivan ngelekhulunywa ngayo yona ke 13 meters.
Do you confirm that a locomotive which carried both sugar and syrup would more likely be carrying an equal amount of sugar and syrup as it was in motion? Do you confirm that?
Yes, my lady, a train needs to be balanced.
Ibaqinisa lokuthi ke isino sokashwela nesiraphe efanayo kufanele kufane ngikusho lo ngoba file phela ke istimela ke sibalance.
And so you're in possession of a technical book titled South African Railways Harbours Locomotive Diagram Book. Am I correct?
Yes, my lady.
Uye phethela ke phambi kwami likhuluma ngazo ke izitimela namasondo ke kwala eMzansi.
And that is a technical book. Am I correct?
That is correct, my lady.
Elemdwebo lebhuku phezulu.
If you could just briefly describe to the court what that book is actually about.
Awusinabe uselibholi phezulu lapha ngakho ke elana.
This book gives you all the technical information regarding each class of locomotive.
Leli bhuku ke likhombisa konke ke ubuchule bako ke na nangazo futhi isitimela nokufana kwazo futhi ke isitimela njenge amakarisha khona.
And would the specifications relating to a class 2045 also be contained within that book?
That's correct, my lady. In fact, I'm looking at the drawing right now.
Kanti njengamanje nje ibhule ngilivulile ngivele kule class le L245 phambi kwami.
I beg for your indulgence, my lady. My lady, for ease of reference for the court, I have made a copy of the front page of the book which the witness is referring to, as well as the page that he will be referring to. I beg leave to hand the same into the court
Yes,
for
thank
ease
you.
of reference.
Do you want it as an exhibit?
Yes, my lady.
That will be exhibit W
My lady, can we
or V1.
maybe let's make it V1. Thank you, my lady.
Exhibit V1.
Thank you, my lady. And you said that you're looking at it right now.
That's correct, my lady.
For the layperson, those calculations look pretty complicated, if I may put it that way. However, you being a trained expert, all the measurements that we were talking about with regards to this Class 15CA 2045 would definitely be contained in that technical book. Am I correct?
That's quite correct, my lady.
Njengoba sikhuluma ke ngo 245 no class 15CA konke kula leli bhuku elikhona phambi kwami.
And also just to clarify, this book was published by the South African Railway Mechanical Department Drawing Office in Pretoria, correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Leli bhuku sanso khona phaya ke khona ke zitimela.
And from this book, one is able to determine the length of a Class 15CA locomotive, correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Masibheka futhi leli bhuku ke kwazi ukusikhombisa ke ubude bale class A15CA.
And according to this book, the length of a Class 15CA locomotive is 73 feet, 3 3/6 of an inch,
4/16 of an inch, my lady.
4/16 of an inch.
Yes.
And if that is converted, it is equal to more or less 22.33 meters in length. Am
That's
I correct?
Yes.
Masibheka lo class 15CA makukalwa ke ngibakala ngayo 73 feet no 4/16 inch. Mase siguqula sekisimeke manje amameter kubu sehlanganisela ku 22.33 meters.
And the 15 cars which you alluded to earlier, those would make up the train, correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Kanti lezi moto ezo 15 khulume ngazo ke zakha ke istimela.
And the locomotive is the engine that pulls the train.
That's correct, my lady.
Mase khona ke engine ke le donsa ke istimela.
It produces the tractive effort required to move the train.
Inikeza ke amandla istimeleni ukuze sikwazi istimela ukuthi ke sihambe.
Therefore, the total length would be an addition of the train and the locomotive. That would be the total length.
Correct, my lady.
Kanti ke ubude balo sihlanganisa ke yona ke istimela kanye futhi ke na engine yakhona.
Do you also confirm that a Class 15CA locomotive with number 2045 used vacuum brakes?
That's correct, my lady.
Can vacuum brakes be interpreted in layman's term, lady?
Vacuum.
Vacuum brakes.
Omoya. Maplego omoya.
Beg your pardon, lady?
Maplego omoya.
Thank you. My vacuum brakes are my blade omoya.
Thank you. Yesterday we spoke at length about the speed of the train. According to the statement of Mr. Latakhan, who was the train driver, the train was traveling at around 25 miles per hour. And if that is converted into kilometers, that is equal to about 40 kilometers per hour. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady. 40.2.
40.2.
Kanti ke ngokuwanoza nge-Olatakhan lesitimela sihamba ngo-25 miles per hour. Mase siguqula ke lo sumela ngama kilometer kuba u-40.2 kilometers per hour nge-hour.
And you further confirmed that Warrant Officer Burgess asked you about the stopping distance of the train, weighing 767 tons, traveling at 40 kilometers per hour. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Onjalo futhi ke naye Officer Burgess buza ke ngesivini se 767 saba ngo-40 kilometers per hour. Yebo kunjalo.
Do you confirm that in answering his question, you informed him that the stopping distance could be ascertained by taking the weight of the train, multiplying that by the speed of the train, and then dividing that figure by the brake force?
100% correct, my lady.
Kanti ke lokho ke umbuzo oba uthi ke lokhu masekuhlanganiswa kuba lokho isindo ke sesitimela sesiqhathanisa ke nespeed saso ke isitimela sisusa ke futhi ke amandla ke ama brake. Yebo kunjalo.
And the brake force is 40 kilonewtons, correct?
That's correct, my lady. It's the brake force.
My brake 40 kilometers.
And having calculated this, you determined that the stopping distance of a train carrying 767 tons would be 767 meters.
That's correct, my lady.
Siyibala ke lokhu siye esemake sithole 767 tons kuba ke ma kilometers 767 kuma kwaso.
And for clarity, you testified that the only difference between a Class 15 CA with number 2045 and that bearing number 2850, the only difference is the regulators. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Go on,
The
Judge.
placing of the regulator in the cab.
Kunjalo ke semehluko phakathi kwale say 15C 245 stimela umehluko nje lapho ke ka 2850 lapho ka khona.
The 2045 regulator had a double beat regulator, whilst the 2850 had a multiple valve regulator. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
A multiple.
Multiple valve.
One is double valve.
The 2045 is a double beat
Double
regulator. And the 2850 is a multiple valve regulator.
Siyahluka nje manje ke ama regulator ke akhona eya 15C 245 regulator khona ke I double beat futhi ke I double imbili makuthi la ku 2850 lo kuphinda phinde kuningi ilo ama valve akhona.
Perhaps just to enlighten everyone, maybe let's first understand what is the regulator of a train. What is it used for?
The regulator in a steam locomotive is a lever that opens and administers steam from the boiler to the cylinders in the front via the elements and the header in the front of the locomotive.
Okay.
Front of the locomotive. Masi khuma ke nge regulator ke sikhuma ke ngaso ke into esikuyisha ke istimela lesike esi level yakho levulekayo base kuphuma ke umusi lo umusi ke usiyongena ke kubhayela ngaphambi kwaso ke istimela ngaphambili kwestimela.
Okay. And what is it used for?
The regulator is exactly the same as an accelerator in a motor car. When you want to move the train, you will open the regulator.
I-regulator ifananise ne-accelerator yakho imoto mofuthi ke ihambeke lo istimela uzobe usebenzisa noma isuswa ke i-regulator.
So does the difference in the two regulators affect the speed of the train in any way?
Ngabe ke la moto zombili ke khona mhlambe la uphasa khona ke sona ke i-steam noma yona i-regulator phazamisa i-regulator
Not at all, my lady.
lutho.
Warrant Officer Burgess testified that he could not trace the Class 15 CA locomotive with number 2045. Do you know why that is?
Ngabe uyazi ke into yabanga ukuthi ke Warrant Officer Burgess after kuthiwa ke le locomotive ya 245.
That's correct, my lady. 2045 has since been scrapped.
Kunjalo ke lu 245 akasekho nje hlobo.
So it's no longer in existence.
That's correct, my lady.
Njengoba ngisho nje cha ayisekho ke indaba 245.
You have also outlined the measurements of the train, the stopping distance, as well as the regulator system of the Class 15 CA with number 2045 as comparing CA with number 2850 in a statement which you typed yourself. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Kunjalo futhi ke ngakalo baze basoke stimela nokuma enqatha lapho ku 245 iqhathanisa no.
And this statement was commissioned on 5 October 2023 in front of a Commission of Oaths, correct?
That's correct, my lady.
kunjalo semele sike sesiqiniswa mhla ka-5 October 2023.
My lady, I'm referring the court to page 221 of volume A and 222. Page 221 and 222 of volume A, marked as A22. And you confirm, sir, that that is your statement?
That is correct, my lady.
Phambi kwami ngiqinisa ukuthi-ke amaphepha la aphambi kwami isitatimende sami esifukelwe.
My lady, may the statement be marked as V2. My lady, maybe you, not V, my lady. Maybe you. We had made an error earlier on. May the statement be marked
we're
as
going
you.
back.
My colleague had made an error. He thought that we had already tendered in the statement of the witness, but we hadn't. So
Don't we have volume exhibit U?
no, we don't, my lady. So if that may be made exhibit U, so that we have a correct chronological order of alphabets.
Well, reluctantly, I agree that we move backwards.
Thank you, my lady. As the court pleases.
Mr. Labuskaghni, does a train reverse?
Yes, my lady.
Oh, then we can make it. That will be exhibit U.
Thank you, my lady. Sir, you have also featured in a video.
Can we have some aircon, please? Is it working?
I don't know, my lady. Is the aircon working?
Carry on in the meantime.
Thank you, my lady. You also featured in a video which is on a public platform on a YouTube channel that was in your younger years. And on that video you explained the specifications of a steam locomotive as well as how it is driven and what would happen when one releases the hooter, for lack of a better word. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Kunjalo-ke ngiyabonakala futhi laphaya enkundleni yokuxhumana nokuthiwa ke uYouTube nginganisancane-ke lapho ngisayibhungu la ngichaza khona-ke ngesitimela-ke samalahle nokushaya khona-ke impempe-ke yakhona ngiyanaba njengazo zonke lezo zinto.
The video is about 14 minutes long, if am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Ubude-ke bale video ngamithi awu-14.
My lady, at this point, may I beg leave of the court to have a view of that video? It's about 14 minutes long.
Yes,
And you
certainly.
can take it from me. Thank you, my lady.
Mr. Labuskaghni, you may sit down if there is a chair.
Thank you, my lady.
It's early morning at Capitol Park. This was the largest locomotive depot in Pretoria.
Friends of the Rails is Section 21 company. We're a company not for gain. We're purely in the hobby for preservation, preserving steam in South Africa, and allowing people to enjoy a bygone era of steam train haulage and trips to various destinations. I'm the driver for Friends of the Rail. I'm actually the first private driver in the history of South African Railways, and the first private person in the world to be a qualified steam haulage freight and passenger. And I do a lot of instruction here. I do a lot of training as far as fire lighting, firemen and drivers are concerned. Well, today we have what we call a hands-on. We invite the public to come along. We teach them the basics of the operational side of a locomotive and how to drive a locomotive, where the various gauges and handles and levers sit, so that they can get the feel of a locomotive and how to drive a steam engine to enjoy that bygone era and listen to the beat of the smell of the steam, the oil and the coal burning, and basically have a very, very enjoyable day on the footplate. Well, you know, it's adults that come along, come along to do this for the day, but actually end up being little children on the footplate. It is such a great experience that all the adulthood seems to go and the childhood seems to come straight back into that person and they relive it on the footplate. Big toys, big boys.
James is a student driver with Les being his instructor.
All right, like see, reverser. That is to reverse the engine in forward and back gear. Okay? The numbers you see on there are percentage cut-offs. Okay. We're not going to be using that today. We're going to use that when we're running on the main line. Okay. In other words, like the car, first, second, third, fourth and fifth gear. Okay. That's exactly what that is.
So fifth is like here and first is like here.
Well, correct. Fifth is going to be here at 50%, and first is going to be here at 80%. We're just going to be staying in first gear. End of story. Right. This unit is your ejector. That is the braking unit of the locomotive. That's the small ejector. That is the large ejector. Okay? Regulator, accelerator, and then this item here, very, very useful. It's called a drifter. That when you open it, allows the steam to go into the cylinder in the front, okay, which helps you, enables you to pick up the load of the train and get the engine moving at a certain speed. Then you start opening your regulator to apply more steam into the cylinders to get the train moving at a faster pace. Right now, we have no brakes. The brakes have been applied to the train. Okay? Because both needles are standing down. These brakes work on a vacuum system. So we now want to create vacuum. We're going to be opening the small ejector. This thing's quite hot, so we do that. We do that, and we'll notice that the needles start rising. Okay? To create 64 kilopascals of vacuum. In other words, I like to work on the inches, the old book. So we're going to be coming to 19 inches. Alright? Brake is applied. This needle will not move because the train brake is now on. If we put that lever into that position, which we call the running position, that needle will rise and start creating vacuum, which allows the brake blocks to be released off the wheels now. Can you hear that sound? Yeah. That's the brake blocks now releasing. The train's brakes are now released. Now we want to move forward. That lever there, quite correct, is open. That is the cylinder cock lever. That is those little valves, those little water cocks underneath the cylinder, which allow condensated water to escape. When we pull off, you will see a lot of steam being blown out there with water. Don't worry about that, it's perfectly normal. Right now we're going to be moving. So you're going to be looking out your window, you're going to look forward. There's nobody around the locomotive, you're going to look back. Make sure there's nobody around that side. Then you're going to say to the fireman, Fireman! Fireman! Wait! Fireman! Check if the train is clear that side, please. Front and back. Check if the train is clear, please. Clear? Yeah. Right. Now you're going to open that drifter valve. You're going to open the valve here, lift it up, put a little slot in it, and pull it back. Right. Now we're allowing steam to go into the front. You hear the sound? You hear it? Right. Close it. And the steam cuts off. Right, now we want to move forward. We're going to put the engine in forward here. Forward. Yes, push it forward. That needle goes there. Pull that lever back to the center position and it'll lock. Right, now you're going to blow the whistle. just to inform people around the train that the train is about to move. One flight, long, short, whatever you want. Right, now you're going to open that drifter valve. Up there you can see the pressure building up in this chest, steam chest pressure going. Now your train is starting to move. Now we're going forward. Now we're going to be going forward at this phase. Pull that regulator back, first stage. Pull it, pull it, pull it, pull it, it'll stop. Get it? Right, you're now on first stage. Now, any movement beyond that will allow more steam to come in. So open your regulator, the handle, pull it open a little bit. Works on a cam system. Imagine a bucket, you're trying to get it open. There we go, that's really clean. Yeah. Okay, now you can close it a little bit, because you've got a little bit too much in. Right, well, it's there. Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now you have a look at the front. See your train is clear? Nobody in the front. Train is clear. Everything's tight. The water is not coming out the cylinder. You can close that lever. Now if you listen to the beat of the engine, it's nice and soft. We're moving at a nice slow speed. The train is under control. Everything is honky-dory. Alright. Close your drifter valve. We don't need that extra bit of steam now. Now we're moving on. We're going to be going over a series of points. Points is where the lines split. We're going to be moving beyond the top center point, and then we'll be applying a brake to make it stop, and then we're going to be setting back down the main line. Okay, good. You're going to apply a little bit more regulator. That's it. A little bit more. Perfect. Here we go. Then you know, that's fine. Actually, putting it there from one robot to the next. Right, now you can close the regulator and you can start applying the brake. Okay? Yes, apply the brake. Bring that needle to number 15 there, 15 inches. A little more. Train comes to cancel and apply the brake fully. 100%. Right. Thank you. Right, now setting back down the line. So you're going to put your engine in back here. Right. Now because we are going on this particular line backwards, we're actually going to be going downhill. So we need to control the speed of the train. Okay? The way you control the speed of the train is we're not going to be using the regulator at all. Coming back, yes, then we're going to use the regulator, then you can hear the engine work and advance. Okay. Sound your hooter, your whistle. Release the brake. It's in running position. Yeah, there, that position there. Needle will go up 19 inches. Open the drifter. And the train will start moving back. Tell you, close the drifter. Yeah, you see what happens is on the inside of the wheel there's a flange. Yeah. And as you start going around the curve, then the flange starts rubbing against the inside of the rail, which automatically slows the train down. Right, you can close the drifter.
James is in charge of Class 24 locomotive SAR number 3664. Which was built in 1949 by the North British Locomotive Company. It has a wheel arrangement of what's popularly known as the Berkshire type. She was the first locomotive at ends of the rail for preservation, and after 4 years of hard work, the engine was restored to working order in 1996. Number 3660 lightweight branch lines engines originally built for Namibia. It was withdrawn from the service in 1988.
Now, how we control the train when we apply the brake, we take it out to 15 inches. 15 inches is what we call a minimum application. When the needle hits 15 inches, the brake blocks then come and they just touch the wheel. They haven't applied yet. They touch the wheel, which allows the train to slow down very slowly. What we call a blue train stop. The guys at the back in the family have got beers and wine and everything all over the place.
The train drifts down beside the coal stage, a massive girder structure of steel that used to store thousands of tons of coal.
Okay, you close the drifter. Okay. And you start applying the brake. Blue train stop. Right. You're going to sit there, you're going to pick your feet up, you're going to stick your feet on here for me. Engine in forward gear. Release the brake. And open the drifter. Now we're going to use the drifter just to get the weight of the train moving. At this stage probably about 150, 160 tons. We're going to get it moving. Once you get to the moving point, just before the nose starts going around that curve, you're going to start opening the regulator because now we're going to be going up a hill. Now we've got to hear the engine working. Apply a little bit more regulator.
Crossing is clear.
Okie dokie, you can shut the regulator down, close your drifter, and start applying brake. 15 inches and hold it at 15 inches. You will know what we call a blue train stop. That's it, perfect. Cylinder cock's open. Check your drifter is closed. Check that your regulator is closed.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. That was excellent.
Pleasure,
Thank
man.
you.
Well done, well
That was
done.
great. Yeah,
It was good.
Jeez, absolutely awesome. It was lovely. It's like it's a blast from the past. Something that everyone will do or everyone even get to see these days. You know, you don't see this. I mean, you sit in the back, maybe see one go past. This is awesome, man.
Thank you. And that video was just a confirmation that you also train people on how to drive steam locomotives. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Kunjalo ke naqasha ke nabantu ngibafundisa nokushayela ke isitimela samalahle.
May this video, my lady, be marked as Exhibit V,
V1, V2.
V2. Thank you, my lady. I have no further questions for this witness.
Thank you. Mr. Junior.
Yes, please, my lady, I've got just a few questions. Mr. Labaswachny, you testified and advised this court of the prescripts of what had to happen in an instance of an accident.
Yes, my lady.
Yebo kunjalo bengale nkantolo ukuthi ke kwamase kwenzakaleni nengozi.
And amongst the prescripts that you made reference to was the release of the personnel who are operating a train.
That's correct, my lady.
And the circumstances under which the said crew would be released from an alleged accident scene.
Correct, my lady.
Ngikhuluma lokhu ke ngotata walabo ke babeke lawula ke isitimela nangendlela futhi abakhululwa ngayo.
In your summation, you gave this court your opinion of why the station master, Mr. Andres Pretorius, would have come to a decision to release the train and or locomotive and its crew.
That's correct, my lady.
Wanaba ke futhi ke kusenza zonke ke izinhlelo ngendlela ke uma stage ke Andres Pretorius enza ukukhula ke Mlabano.
And in your summation, you advised court that the basis for the station master's decision was that there was no train accident that had happened.
That is correct, my lady.
Wathi wakho ke okwenza kwakhe master abakhulule ingoba kwangekho ke siphosa ukuthi ke kube khona ingozi yesitimela.
And say, what I'd like to know from you is whether the crew is allowed to interfere with the body of a person who has been hit by a train and or locomotive.
Ngicela ukuthi ke phela kona ukuthi ngabe ke ithimba livumelekile yini ukuthi ke liphazamisa imali komisidomo somuntu okade ke seshoyiswe ke isitimela.
I'm asking this based on the statements of both Mr. Latahan as well as Mr. Haying, who conceded that they removed Chief Luthuli from his original position to a position which they considered as more comfortable.
Ngikubuza lokho babo babili ke emenzabo onozama Latahan no Haying bavuma ukuthi basusa ke isidumbu sakhe nomzimba wakhe ke nozana ke uLuthuli la alimele khona bambeka ke kwenye indawo beke engatheni indona ke efanelekile.
My lady, the train crew are not authorized in any way to move an injured body.
Kahle ke ithimba ke lapho ke swelthede mina abavumelekile ukuthi ke basuse umzimba noma isitubuke somuntu noma isidumo sosilimele.
This again appears to have happened even before the station master arrives at the alleged scene.
Futhi lokho kwenzeka engafiki ukufika uma station lapho ke kaloliwe lapho engafika lapho ke esigamekweni.
That's correct, my lady.
Yebo kunjalo.
Would you then not agree with me on my proposition that their actions amounted to an interference or tampering with the scene?
Ngeke ngivumelane nawe uma ngithi ke ukwenza kwabo kwase kuphazamisa noma ukungenelela lapho ke isigameko imindalo yenza khona isigameko.
Yes, my lady, most certainly.
Yebo kunjalo impela.
No further questions, my lady.
Thank you, Mr. Msman.
Thank you. Just one issue that I would like the witness to clarify with me, my lady.
I think you must raise your voice a bit.
Thank you. Just one issue, my lady, that I would like the witness to clarify with me, in particular on the statement of the driver of locomotive on the statement of Lategan on paragraph 2, where he says, when I saw this Bantu male commence to walk over the bridge in the direction of my approaching train, I understand that as per this particular statement, he saw the person coming to his direction. And in paragraph 5, my lady, on line 5, Lategan says, I saw the corner of the cap strike him on the right shoulder, and this caused him to spin around. So, with your experience with this particular locomotive, having it traveling at 40 km per hour, was it possible after this impact for the body not to have a severe injuries on the right shoulder, as it was hit on the right shoulder?
My lady, at the speed of the train, the distance between the train and the bridge, there had to have been most severe injuries to the body, if not completely dismembered.
Yabona ke sibona ke iba ngaphasi kwesitimela ke nalo ke bridge imali umuntu ke lapho ukhoma ukuthi ke kwakumele ukuthi kube nezingozi noma ukulimala okubi kakhulu kulo muntu noma nje abona le nhlobo.
Thank you. Lastly, on the video that has been played here, I heard this locomotive moving without even blowing a horn or a whistle. It seemed to have a lot of noise.
That's correct, my lady.
Kunjalo impela le video ade sibuka ungakasho ngishawo ke impempe ekhona asikona kunomsindo omningi kunjalo impela.
So am I correct to say that without even blowing a whistle, an individual can hear the sound even at a far distance from the train?
Kunjalo ke futhi ke noma uxhake impempe leke ayisashayiwe kodwa ke umuntu uma ekude nestimela ngomsindo wesitimela uyakwazi ukuthi uzothi unesitimela ke sizayo.
That's correct, my lady. And with a load of 767 tons, that sound of the exhaust steam that you're hearing, it's coming out the chimney. would be very much louder.
Yebo ke kona kunjalo kanti futhi ke nesisindo ke phela sesitholeke lapho njengoba sithina sana ke SO 767 ukuphuma nje wakhona lo msino kuyazwala futhi ke kuzwala kakhulu phezulu.
And the reason for that, my lady, is that because of the weight behind you, you're having to pull more regulator to put more to the pistons.
Kanti futhi ke masibheka nomthwalo ke usindayo usuke udonswa ke lapho ke kufakeka umoya kakhulu noma ke umusi kakhulu ukuze phela kube namandla ukuthi kudonseke lokho kuza ngemuva.
To move that weight so the exhaust sound and steam out the chimney is very much louder than what you've heard here on the video.
Konke lo sohlanganiseke ke kudonsa kakhulu nalokuthi ke siyangena kakhulu ke umusi lokho ke kubanga ukuthi umsindo ube phezulu kakhulu ube mkhulu kakhulu.
Thank you, my lady. No further
Thank you, Mr. Ngoba.
Thank you.
Taking to the video we've observed exhibit V2, I noticed that there is that burning furnace in front near where the driver is seated. And is that what you were referring to as leaving a bomb if the driver were to leave the train in that state and attend to something outside?
Yes, my lady.
Kunjalo impela ke la sibona khona ke la kwi video ngathi khona ke la kusho khona kukhona nocingo khona la ila kade esho khona ukuthi ukushiya kwakho leyo ndawo ungadala ke isiqhuma esikhulu la kunjalo.
The closure of that, what is called the firebox.
Yes.
You have side plates, a back plate, a tube plate, and a crown plate. Surrounding all of those plates is water. And you've got this fire, probably in the region of over 400 degrees Celsius, burning, creating steam. And that steam creates the pressure, and that is why we refer to it as a bomb.
Into ebanga ukuthi sibize ke ngebomb lento ke uma sikubheka phela ke kuvalelwe kahle khona lapho ilento ngathi ibhokisi ivalwe ngapha ke yasema side nakhona amacena nakhona naphambili into esibiza ke ngama plate mase bakhona ke amanzi lapho la suke ebila akhiphe ke lo musi ingakho sibiza ngebomb lento ngoba lo mlilo omkhulu.
And that is why the rules state that both the fireman and the driver are not allowed to vacate the footplate.
Ingakho ke umthetho uthi umshayeli wesitimela kanye nalo ofaka ke amalahle khona ke lapha kubayela abavumelekile ukuthi ke basuke ke lapho kuleyo ndawo.
One person must always remain on the footplate to manage the fire and the water level in the boiler.
Oyedwa fanele ahleze khona ke lapho zakwazi ukulawula ke umlilo kanti ke futhi ke nezinga lamanzi kule ndawo la kufa khona ke amanzi kulo bayela.
And I observed also that when you had just stopped demonstrating, you took a hose pipe and you were spraying. What was that about?
Enqaphile futhi kule video ke thema sekuswe lapho ke wathatha ke ipipe lamanzi wasuyavutha ke lapho ke ngamanzi bekwenzakalani lapho?
We are taught that that is your office for the day and you must keep your office clean.
Siyafundiswa ukuthi ke kusuke ihhovisi lakho leli futhi hlezi ke li clean.
So we spray it off with what we call the spray pipe.
Yes.
It's water directly from the boiler. It's very hot. And we make it clean.
Futhi lapho ke sisifaka amanzi asuke ebila ke la uma kunobhayela ukuze kube clean. Kube ihhovisi lethu phela le.
I have no further.
Thanks. Mr. Labuskachner, what you're spraying off would include the soot that comes from the burning coal.
Yes, my lady. In the top of the cab is an open sunroof window to allow the heat of the fire in the cab to escape.
Lo ngikhuluma ngakho manje ke wona ke umlotha fanele ukwendawo enkulu lapho evulekile ukuze phela uphumeke wona ke umlotha lo ushiye khona lapho ke ngaphansi uphuma ngaphandle.
And the exhaust steam blowing out of the chimney also contains very small particles of coal. And that comes through the roof, through the windows and over the back of the cab and lays on the floor.
Kanti futhi le bangichaza futhi ngendlela kungena ngayo amalahle ethu amakhulu kakhulu mancane angenapho lapho ngaphezulu mase ke engena phansi khona lapho phansi khona ke la kubaselwa khona.
Like a coal stove, and then you have always to clean the chimney as well as the area around the coal stove. That's dirty.
So. Yes, my lady.
Njengestove nje lesasemsemakhaya zakudala ezokuthiwa welcome stove. Into njengalo kufanele cleanwe lapho ngaphakathi kukhipha ke manje ke intuthu ngaphakathi hleze ku clean.
Although the soot from the coal stove is very much finer, it's exactly the same aspect. This is just a lot more coarse.
Kona ke noma ke westimela ke kuba fana kakhulu kodwa ke into efanayo nje into enzeka into efanayo.
Watching this video and the train moving, it seems like it does look like quite a big. The locomotive is big compared to a motor vehicle. Now, if it were to knock a person with all that steel and simply just injure him slightly, how possible? I know you've already repeated this now and again, but now in relation to the image of the locomotive itself moving, although here you didn't have sort of like any platform, it was just moving on open rails. Now, and you said the person would be knocked back into the steel of the bridge and back into the train. So with Chief Luthuli's instance, being knocked by such a heavy locomotive, carrying a heavy load, obviously the chances of him dismembered, his body dismembered, are far greater. Am I correct to interpret it that way?
Yes, my lady, very much so.
Yeah, because ngakade lokonsile ke uma beka indlela kobeka ngayo ukuthi ke nansi imoto ke masiphasise imoto nestimela sikhulu kakhulu futhi istimela ke sithanda ukuba asideke sona uma sesibheka ke umuntu oseshayiswa ke istimela isimshaya istimela ezingala ebridge ayibole khona futhi ke nana kuloku ukujantshi esimeni ke sika mnomzane ke Luthuli amangokulimala kaso ngempela fa ukuthi abimakhulu edlula ukuthi ke umuntu abephuzulu ngabe kunjalo yebo kunjengoba ubekho senkantolo.
And I take it that you are not in a position to explain how he sustained a gaping wound on his head in the circumstances of being hit by a train.
Futhi ke ngiyathemba ukuthi simele ukuthi ngekwazi ukuchaza ukuthi ke leli gebe ayinalo noma lengozi enkulu ayinayo la ke ekhanda lakhe ebeke shasta ngekwazi ukuchaza ukuthi ke lokho kwenza kanjani. Awukho simele
That is if he was hit by a train.
Uma futhi ukuthi wayeshaywe isitimela ngempela.
Well, lady, I'm not able to explain how the injury on Chief Luthuli's head happened.
Angeke ngikwazi sesibenza singazi ukuthi ke ingozi noma ke inxeba lasekhanda leka Chief Luthuli lenzeka kanjani mafika kanjani lapho na.
But I can assure my lady that the impact on Chief Luthuli's right shoulder would have either removed the arm completely
ukuthi ke ukulimala kwa Chief Albert Luthuli sokudla kwele manjalo kulezosuka vele nje eqobulalo ingalo lapho
or it would have broken the shoulder completely on his back.
noma ke ingalo isuke lapho ke iqobula lisuke nje yonke mase zohlala ngemuva wekhanda.
And that impact would have caused the body to hit the side of the bridge and go straight back into the train.
Lokhu libala ke wazoda uthi imizimba ke wakhe ushala phela ebridge ubuyele esitimeleni.
Out of interest sake, I've come to know of people who've lost maybe a leg, the entire leg, both the femur and the fibula, through train accident. Out of interest sake, how does that happen in relation to the 2 feet between the train and the end of and the bridge and the walkway?
Well, my lady, if you look at that particular class steam locomotive, the driver says the buffer missed Chief Luthuli by about 2 inches. If you look at the front of the locomotive, the buffer is narrower than what we call the running board.
Okay.
Which is a plate that runs next to the boiler that you're able to stand on and clean or do repairs and that type of thing. So when the train passed him, the running board must have been very close to Chief Luthuli. But because the 15CA, when they designed it, the Americans and the Italians, the running board is very much higher than the other locomotives, class locomotives on the railway. But it would have still been very close to him, and the impact of the corner of the cab, which I pointed out yesterday, is very sharp. The impact on that shoulder would most certainly have knocked Chief Luthuli to the side and back, and that's what happens is the body tends to be pulled in underneath the train, and that's where the dismembering takes place.
So once the body is pulled underneath the train, it gets crushed by these steel wheels.
It gets cut into pieces.
Thank you for that clarification. And I'm sure Ms. Chwene, just as a formality, anything arising from the court's question?
Nothing arising,
Mr. Dana, Mr. Simon, Mr. Nobo. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Labuskachne. You are excused from the witness box.
Thank you, my lady.
Mr. Junior.
That's the good business, my lady. That concludes the evidence for today. My lady, taking into account the fact that we will not be settling tomorrow due to court commitments, may this matter be adjourned until Monday?
That will be the 12th
of evidence.
12th.
12th of May. That will be the 12th of May.
You are excused from the box, Mr. Labuskachne.
And lady, lastly, may we see your ladyship in chambers.
Thank you. Certainly. These proceedings stand adjourned until the 12th of May 2025. We will commence as usual at 10 o'clock.
Kubeleke umsombuluko mhla 12 ke kuMay nato la ihlala ikusasa so bona umsombuluko ngasikhathi sifanayo siqala ke kusebenza ngo10 12 May.
Court adjourned.